Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. We're talking about the week of December 26th, the last week of 2022 right now. So, lots of dark skies this time of year, and hopefully you have a chance to have some clear skies out there. As it gets dark, when you look to the south, Jupiter is going to be the bright object that's almost directly south, for those of you who are in mid-northern latitudes like myself. So here at mid-northern latitudes, we have very long sky, dark nights, and we'll take advantage of that this week to do something we don't normally do, something a little bit different, to say what happens if we sit on one night and watch the sky progress. What are some of the things that we see? What does it look like? So that's what we're going to do. That's what we have in store for you. It should be a lot of fun. But as it gets dark in the week ahead here, Saturn will be off to the west, setting. Mars will be off to the east, rising. Jupiter is the bright object that's almost straight south, high in the sky as we turn and look south. So we call the meridian line. You know this. We've talked about this before. The meridian line is the line that connects north to south directly overhead. And so Jupiter is going to be very close to the meridian as it gets dark. And to the right of the meridian, as you're looking south, that's going to be west. To the right of the meridian is Saturn, and to the left is Mars. And so we see Saturn low, so the sun for me sets sometime 4:40 this week, 4:45, maybe by the end of the week, probably not quite that late. But that's the idea. My local time, about 4:40, the sun is setting. Saturn is going to set a little bit less than 4 hours later than that. Sometime in the neighborhood of 8:30 Saturn sets for me. What that means is Saturn is up in the sky enough to be plenty visible after dark, for a while after dark, and high enough in the sky that it's not in that murk of the horizon. It's not in the glow of the sunset. And so we have a good opportunity to see Saturn here. Beautiful. But we have to look pretty far to the west. It's not going to be straight to the south. You've got to look over to the west in order to see that. And so it's getting closer there. Over the next month, we're going to start to want to lose it. So you're going to get less and less. Because what's going to happen over the next month, as we talked about last week, is the sunset's going to get earlier, more and more rapidly. We've already been gaining later. The sunset's going to be getting later. And so we've been already doing that for a little while now. While the sunrise has been getting later and the sunset has been getting later. And now you're going to really start to notice that in the coming month, how much daylight we're gaining on the bottom end here in the evening. And so what that means is we're losing the night sky on that end. So we got two things. We got Saturn, the 4 minutes difference between sidereal day and solar day causes the stars to set 4 minutes earlier each night, and so Saturn, not moving much against the background stars, is going to be setting earlier, 4 minutes earlier. So a month from now, Saturn will be setting 2 hours earlier, but we'll have lost a significant amount of nighttime sky. As a month from now, you'll really be able to notice that it's staying light later in the evening. All of that means is, you got a few weeks to get out there and observe Saturn pretty well. So get out there and enjoy the view of Saturn. Now this week on the 26th, a very beautiful crescent moon is going to slide beneath Saturn. So you get a chance to get out on the evening of the 26th, just after dark, enjoy the crescent moon below Saturn. 2 days later on the 28th, the crescent moon will be below Jupiter over here, almost straight south. And then it'll be working its way to Mars, but it won't get there until next week sometime. So early next week. So this is what we got. Watch the moon filling out as it moves from the 26th to the 28th from Saturn to Jupiter over here. Now, any night you go out, what I've drawn on the board here is 6 o'clock. So for me, 6 o'clock, sun's been set for about an hour and a half. It's good and solid dark. We've got nighttime, but it's early nighttime, and plenty of dark sky to look at. I turn and I look at the sky, and I'm facing south. Here I am facing south. When I'm looking at what I see on the board here, and I see Saturn over here to the west setting. The brightest object I see to the south is Jupiter. And if we look at Saturn, and you have a small telescope, about 7 to 8 degrees, about 3/4 of a fist width, at arm's length, south of Saturn is the bright globular star cluster, the bright-ish globular star cluster, M30. So you've got M30, this nice globular cluster, showing below Saturn here as it gets dark. Move on up to Jupiter, and the great square of Pegasus sits above Jupiter. So Jupiter, just above Jupiter is this ring of faint stars we've talked about a little bit that is the ringlet of Pisces that you see. But you've got the big bright constellation of Jupiter, above Jupiter, the big bright asterism of the great square of Pegasus. Okay? And now, we often associate, I shouldn't project on you what you associate with various parts of the night sky, but I often associate Pegasus with the fall sky. When I see Pegasus rising into the eastern sky, it tells me fall is upon us. And it's a beautiful asterism. It's a big asterism, and there's not much other bright around it, so you really see that square stick out. And so here we have what I think of as a real marker of the fall sky, just after dark at 6 o'clock, high overhead, as high as it's going to get, on the meridian line, near the meridian line, north-south, at 6 o'clock, here in the last week of the year in December. What certainly feels like to those of us who are in the upper Midwest, certainly feels right now as I'm recording this, real winter is set upon us. Now, off the upper left corner of the great square of Pegasus, there's this V of stars that is Andromeda. And you go out one step on the V, 2 steps on the V, go from the bottom or the left part of the V up to the upper right, move the same distance on up there, and you get the Andromeda Galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy is a big, beautiful galaxy worth checking out. High in the sky right now, really high in the sky right now. If you got a dark sky, you don't need optical aid. You don't need anything to see it. It just looks like a thumbprint of phosphorescent paint on the sky. It's a big smudge. That's how big and beautiful that galaxy is. If you have binoculars or you have a small telescope, so much the better. You can enjoy that. Most telescopes have a field of view that's too narrow that you can't actually see the whole galaxy in there. So you need a good wide eyepiece to really particularly enjoy it. But this is a great view looking south. Now we turn and we look more east to see what's rising into the sky, and we have the part of the sky that we've talked about a fair amount lately. You go through Neptune and down into Mars. So there's the curve, there's the line of our solar system, the flat plane, but the flat plane, the line of our solar system looks like a curve on the sphere of the sky. And so we pass through Neptune into bright Mars down here. Mars sits below Aldebaran in Taurus the Bull. So you've got the bright orange Aldebaran down here, and you've got the Pleiades up here just to this side. So you got M45, the Pleiades open star cluster, great in binoculars, great to the naked eye. So that's what you check out as you're looking east and you look to bright Mars. So that's what we got at 6 o'clock. If we jump forward to 11 o'clock, the sky will have rotated quite a bit. The Earth will have rotated, moving the sky. Saturn's gone, so by 11 o'clock, Saturn's long gone. Jupiter and Pegasus will have moved well west of the horizon, of the meridian, and they're on their way out. And what you have on the meridian instead is Orion. And so Taurus sits above Orion. So we had Mars and the Pleiades and the Hyades, Aldebaran over here rising into the eastern sky. By 11 p.m., we just went, my time, it changes more or less for you wherever you are, but it's about right. It's the right idea. Orion is going to be on the meridian straight north-south. So we got the bright constellation of Orion. You got your small telescope, you got your binoculars. Check out the Orion Nebula, M42 right here. So you got the great Orion Nebula that sits just below the belt of Orion down here. It's a fabulous star-birth region, just a beautiful thing to check out in a small telescope or binoculars. And that's our north-south line directly over here. What that means is Taurus and Mars that sit to the west, above and to the west of Orion, they have already crossed the meridian. So they were in the eastern part of the sky when we went out just after dark. Now we go out at 11 o'clock and we take a look to the south and we say, wow, things have moved significantly. We see that Mars has crossed the meridian and Orion's on the meridian. That is a particularly terrible depiction of Orion. But anyway, that's what we got out there at 11 o'clock at night. Now, rising into the eastern sky at this point already is the constellation of Leo, which I think of as a spring sky marker. When it's coming up just after dark, we'll be transitioning from the winter time that we're in right now to early spring. And so Leo, you got bright Regulus here. And then you've got this backward question mark, the sickle shape, that is the head of the lion. And you move down here to the triangle tail with De Nebula marking the tip of the tail down here. And so Regulus and Leo are moving into the eastern sky over here. When you look east, you should have no trouble seeing them at about 11 o'clock at night. Above Orion is Gemini, Castor and Pollux, the twin stars. And sort of halfway between Castor and Pollux, the twins, and Leo, down in here is Cancer. And Cancer is a very faint constellation. I personally don't think it would have been a constellation. I don't think we would have associated the constellation with that faint group of stars had we not needed a zodiacal constellation, had we not needed someplace for the sun to go through that time of year. But there are two beautiful open star clusters, really easy to see. The Beehive cluster, M44, and M67. Both of these, Beehive's bigger and brighter. Beehive you can maybe see with your naked eye. A pair of binoculars really pulls the Beehive cluster out. So you just scan from Castor to Pollux, from Castor and Pollux down toward Regulus, and scan through that area, and you'll probably see the Beehive cluster pop out in your binoculars. M67 is a little bit tougher to see. It's old, and so it's got a lot more faint stars in it. And it's not, the big high bright stars are gone, and so more about that later. So it's got the fainter, smaller stars still left over in it. And so check out these two open star clusters here is a good thing to check out if you're out there at 11 o'clock at night. By the time we get to 4 in the morning, so let's jump ahead another 5 hours. So we move ahead another 5 hours, and at 4 in the morning now, we're talking about Leo will have moved up to be on the north-south line in the meridian, on the meridian. So Leo will be up here in the vicinity of the meridian, looking straight south now at 4 o'clock in the morning. Cancer, with the beautiful open star clusters M67 and M44, will have crossed the meridian and be looking to set over to the west. And what we have further rising into the east is Virgo, and Virgo sits like a Y shape. The bright pattern of Virgo sits like a Y shape at the base of Leo down in here. And this region, if you've got your small telescope out now at 4 o'clock in the morning with these beautiful dark skies, so get these beautiful inky black skies in the wintertime, all the moisture just freezes out of the sky. And so it leaves this inky black background. It's a great time, if you can stand the cold, it's a great time to poke around in this region. This is the region of the Virgo supercluster of galaxies. So there's galaxy, everywhere you look. You take your small telescope and you're just going to find galaxy after galaxy. One of the things I like to do, so I have a few different telescopes at my disposal, and they're set up, they keep set up all the time so that they're polar mounted. So they track the stars pretty well, and I don't have to work very hard to go and tell the computer on board to say, hey, here's the star. I pointed at the star, and I say, you're looking at this star. Now let's go find galaxy M65, M66, M80, no, that's a globular cluster, never mind that. But whatever, M94, whatever these galaxies are in this region of the sky that I want to see, and we go find it. It goes and finds these things for me, no problem at all. Sometimes I like to do that, and sometimes I like not to do that. I'll say, go find one galaxy for me. And then I start just very slowly moving the telescope around and seeing what pops out. If I'm moving too fast, these galaxies in here have very low brightness, surface brightness, so they tend to wash away in the background sky. So if I'm moving too fast, I just zip by them and don't even know anything was there. I got to move very slowly, so I'll move the telescope a little bit, and then I just stop and pause. And I let my eye relax and wander around in the eyepiece. And what I see as I'm looking in the eyepiece, all of a sudden I'll see there's little faint things popping out at me, and I can start to see all kinds of galaxies. The richness of this cluster of galaxies, of this group of galaxies on the sky, can become apparent to you if you spend some time just doing that kind of work, just kind of probing around. Now, we say Arcturus has risen well into the sky by this time in the morning. So we have Arcturus and Boötes up here, and Arcturus, we use the handle of the Big Dipper. We say the handle of the Big Dipper, the bowl of the Big Dipper is here, and you move out here to the handle, and we like to say the handle of the Big Dipper arcs. It has a curve to it. My star and Alcar are here, these stars, and you curve toward Arcturus, and then you spin on down to Spica in Virgo. And so you go from the handle of the Big Dipper, curving, following the curved path of the Big Dipper handle, down to Arcturus and Boades, on down to Spica. And so that's the Big Dipper. You turn and you look north now. So now we turn and we look north, and I turn and face you instead of the board when I do that, even though I have it drawn on the board. And the main reason I do that is because where I have my camera set up, that's north. South is behind me, and north is that direction. But now I turn and I look north, and I see the Big Dipper sitting high above. So here's the North Star. The Big Dipper circles around the North Star. Sometimes it's low skimming the horizon, and sometimes it's high above. It's upside down and high above the pole like that. So when it's skimming the horizon for me, the Dipper bowl is up right side up. When it's above the North Star, higher in the sky, as high in the sky as it gets, then the bowl is upside down, pouring its contents out into the bowl of the Little Dipper, and that's exactly what we have at 4 o'clock in the morning right now. This is a sky with the Virgo supercluster of galaxies, Leo way up high in the sky, the Big Dipper up above the pole. My goodness, I see this sky, and I think April. I think spring, 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 because that's what it's going to look like in the evening when we get to March, April, May, and start moving that direction. The stars rise 4 minutes earlier each night because of the coupled orbital motion and rotation that we talked about last week. If you haven't watched that, go watch that. But that's what we got. We got a whole beautiful night of observing here. Go out and look at Saturn and look at Jupiter as it gets dark, and then go out 4 or 5 hours later and notice how much Saturn is gone and how much Jupiter has moved across the sky. And what you've got is Orion high overhead to the south, and a beautiful winter Orion, and enjoy where Mars is very high in the sky at that point. And then by the time we get just before sunrise a little while, at 4 o'clock in the morning, say, another 5 hours later or so, you've got this sky with Leo, Virgo, the Big Dipper, and Arcturus, and it looks like a spring sky to us. So we go from what looks like a fall sky to me right after dusk to a winter sky as we get closer to midnight, to a spring-looking sky as we get close to sunrise. And that's what can happen these nights that are long. We got lots of darkness here, right? We can go outside. For those of us who are far enough north, we can go outside and we can see a lot of the sky in one night. So I hope you have a chance to see at least some of the sky in the week ahead. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll have something more for you next time around. And Happy New Year, everybody. This is, the next time we come around, it will start on January 2nd. So we're headed into the new year next time around. So we hope the new year ahead is a great one for you. Thanks, everybody.